Hello everyone. So I'm happy today to host another live session. Today we're going to discuss about the monitoring remote connection and remote access with during the COVID-19 period. And today I'm going to discuss it with Chris and Scott. And I would like you guys to introduce yourself, and excited to be here with you today.
Likewise. Hi, I'm Chris Grove, Technology Evangelist here at Nozomi Networks.
Scott Smith, Product Owner at Nozomi, and working with our customers to evolve the product.
Great, guys. Thank you so much, and excited to be here today. As I mentioned at the beginning, today we would like to go a little bit more in deep on a situation that we see we are living in this new context of quarantine and COVID-19 pandemic. And one of the situations that we live, and I know many of you are living right now, is the fact that due to the quarantine and due to the fact that many of us cannot go to work and cannot travel, so for healthy reason, so many companies that are owning critical infrastructure today, they have to guarantee remote access to many of us in order to keep operating and keep guarantee basic service for all of us. So of course this is great, and I think is impressive about how many of you reacted so quickly and were able to put in place an infrastructure or leverage on something that was already in place to really guarantee remote access. But on the other side, I'm sure many of you, just ask and you are trying to eventually reduce potential new risk due to this new, change of scenarios. And in specific to this point, I would like to know your opinion, Chris, about the evolution that we're seeing and some of the new challenges that we need to face because of that.
Yeah, it's quite amazing what's going on right now to see how fast evolution is happening around us on all fronts.
Great.
Business and organizations are just having to adapt. It's like do or die for some of these. They're forced with changing operations and finding ways to do things that they used to do safely inside their perimeter or inside of their building, and find ways to do it outside. Like just looking around, there's a couple examples within my family that I've noticed during this quarantine. One is the restaurants. They used to pretty much have dine-in service all the time. That's how they survived. And now they're offering curbside and delivery and things that they wouldn't even have considered before. And then my son's karate class, they're doing it over Zoom, and the instructor comes and does like a session in the driveway from like 20 feet away once like a month or something. And my neighbor is an administrator. She processes payroll for the school district. She does it now out of her house. They never would have put that much information in that kind of a zone, a network or place outside of their building prior to all this quarantine stuff. So it's across organizations. They're trying to find ways to rethink their processes and kind of get them off campus and out in the field where they don't have to get together and do things as a team. They could do it remotely, or they can remote control things that they used to do in the office. So it's very interesting to see how everything is adapting to this quarantine scenario.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%, and I think one of the main takeaway that I would like to discuss with you today, guys, is first of all, which are the new risk, right, that we need to face from the cybersecurity perspective. So I was talking with a pharmaceutical customer, and I mentioned also in our other live session, we keep working very close with them. And so they are working very, very hard in order to try to do their part, right, to help the world.
Right.
We discussed last time how we strongly believe that everyone should do their part to try to help the world in facing these new challenges. And they move a lot of researcher in one location, and they are working very hard in trying to discover a vaccine. But one of the main questions that they had was, which new threat do I have right now, and what are the new risks that I need to face? Because some of the people now relocated to our best laboratory that we have, but some of them are still working remotely, and the data are very sensitive. It's very important to make sure that there is no intrusion, there is no cyber attack. So based on your experience, Chris, what do you think are the main risks from this new scenario that we're facing?
Yeah, they're wide ranging depending on exactly who we're talking to. Some of our customers that we've been working with are really worried about the mix of personal devices now with all the corporate devices, or the corporate devices that are operating in environments, for example, the home systems with everybody using it all the time. Typically, they didn't have, for example, an engineer that could control a robot in a plant sitting in a home network with a couple teenagers surfing the internet. It wasn't something that they thought about a long time ago. So I think some customers are concerned with the intermingling of technologies that they're having to watch on their critical networks. Also, the endpoint security is something that they're a bit worried about, because there's a lot of things happening on devices that they don't necessarily have as much control over as they would if they were inside of the facility. So the endpoint security is of concern to some folks, and some of them are trying to find ways to move towards like zero trust, where they're monitoring the living daylights out of everything. They don't trust anything at all, and they're doing their best to safely let things happen, but really keeping a close eye on stuff at the same time. So the risks are the same ones as before, but they're a little bit multiplied, I guess you could say, because if you think about like the 2 a year vulnerabilities on remote desktop, for the last like 15 years, we've seen almost 30 vulnerabilities on that. So if we think about that as being a line of defense, like that last layer of username and password, that's actually open to attack. So all these different layers are very important. No matter where we think about we might have some risks, when we start adding remote access, we open up those risks to a wider array of threat actors. There's people overseas now, or across town, or anywhere that could perhaps take advantage of some of these vulnerabilities that we used to think were sort of protected and tucked away. So it's very important to keep an eye on everything as we expand the access to these networks.
Yeah, no, I absolutely see that. And so
Yeah.
assuming that I have to be in that scenario, right? I mean, I had this new quarantine that happened very quickly. So the main president all over the countries, all over the world, they decide in different form and different flavor a sort of a quarantine. So and I'm sure many of us have to basically run and making sure that all this new environment was there in place to guarantee the basic services. So without thinking too much. And right now we are there. So you just say, Chris, that and I agree with you that is it's a multiplier for some of the well-known risks that we already seen. So what if I don't have a gigantic budget, and that is one of the main takeaway that I would like to transfer to the people that are on the webinar today. I don't have a big budget, or I don't have budget at all. So can I do something, or basically I need to wait and say, okay, I hope that what I have already in place is going to be enough to monitor and alert me in case something bad is happening. So is there something that I can do even if I don't have budget? That is my question for both of you. Chris, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot that could be done. Starting with taking stock of the documentation that you have about your environment. The first thing that you're going to think about is not just adapting to the changes that you're going to have now, but how do you get back to the good operational state later? So taking inventory of the documentation that you have of your network and all the assets that you have, get a good asset inventory, start looking at who's doing what, and then you understand when you start bringing in all these new users, what they're supposed to be doing, where they're coming from, where they're going. And I'm really excited about having Scott on today's call, because he's going to go into a lot more detail on one of the biggest things that I think anyone can do is start out with our community edition and give that a run. If you have no budget at all, that's a great place to get started. And I'm not going to take any thunder away from Scott, so I'm going to just hand the mic over to him because I think this is the really exciting part here.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks,
Cool.
Chris.
Yeah.
Some of the things is to monitor your connections, right? Understand where your connections are coming from. If you have people working from home, if you still have them in the office, where are those connections coming from? Make sure that you know those connections if you're using a jump server, if you're using a remote access or a terminal server, and how many connections you have. Do you only allow 15 connections at a time? Should you only have maybe 15 employees that have access to that? You can go ahead with our community edition, be able to monitor those connections. So you can be able to say, I only want maybe from a terminal server, jump server, any, maybe a DMZ, I only want 15 connections at a time. So that's monitoring like VNC, that's monitoring RDP, that's monitoring HTTP, HTTPS connections. You can group those all together, and then you can be able to alert yourself if there's maybe 16 connections, or maybe if you're not allowing RDP from a certain terminal server, you can go ahead and create a rule that will alert you if that happens.
So
So
Scott,
being able to
sorry
know
to
those.
interrupt
Yep.
you 1 second on this one, because that is very interesting. So you basically, one of the things that you mentioned, guys, is one of the very basic control that I can do at the beginning is, I have an infrastructure in place to guarantee remote access, and I basically have multiple users that can be available, or can use this infrastructure to basically connect remotely. Can be 100, can be 200, you have many employees. But in the way that you are organized, that there is a certain number of connection that you are expecting on a certain part of the day, or a maximum number of connection total. So, and basically what you're saying is that there is a few tools out there that can do that, that are free, so that we don't have to pay anything. One of these tools is, if you understand correctly, is the community edition that we offer, and you can basically monitor exactly what you're saying.
Exactly. Yep, for sure. So you can monitor those connections coming in and then be able to alert yourself if there's more than an abnormal amount of connections. So you can go ahead and set that normal number and be able to alert yourself on it. As well as with we talked about it last week, but the digital transformation of allowing people to work from home and access those critical sites, it's growing. It's really fast. They're implementing this quickly to be able to support all of the necessary needs, as well as with the COVID-19. So there are some things that are being missed. They're not going through the thorough testing, possibly trying to go through the process of getting approvals quicker. So there could be some firewall rules that are missing. So being able to monitor those connections coming in case someone forgot to maybe block a VNC connection from a certain segment. So you can monitor those with the community edition or other tools to be able to monitor those connections that could possibly have been overlooked with trying to do implementation quickly. So there are tools out there that you can monitor it, and with the community edition, you can certainly do that.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, a number of connection, one, the other one is, understanding, type of protocols that are allowed, and eventually,
Sure.
Identify something, as you said, and identify something and say, okay, maybe I can enforce a rules on my firewall, and making sure that, not everyone can eventually reach, a SCADA master, or a terminal server, or directly even a PLC with a specific protocol in case it's needed. So, and going back to the community edition tool, Scott, where I can eventually download it if I want to download the community edition, and how does it work?
Yeah, you can download it from our website. So you can go to our website, go ahead and download it. It's VirtualBox or VMware. You can OVA, and there's a 3-step process where you can download it, and then you go ahead and get a license for it, and then go ahead and implement it. You can do this at work, or you can use it at home just to understand and make sure that your home is more secure. There are some assertion rules that we're going to go ahead and upload to our website, which you can see here on my screen, which I've created, that's going to look for some remote access to be able to look for those simultaneous connections like we talked about previously, as well as another area is it's looking for those COVID-19 IP addresses or URLs. So if it sees any of those connections or communications to HTTP or those IP or URLs, it'll go ahead and alert you so you can identify those. And this is something that you can download from our website, as well as if you want to go to like a GitHub and grab some of those bad IP addresses, you can go ahead and certainly upload that. And we'll go next week on Monday, we'll go more in depth on how to create those assertion rules and use the community edition. So this is something that you can use at home, you can use in the work to go ahead and make sure that you understand what's going on in the environment and alert you if anything happens.
Yeah, no, that's great, right? Because as we said, you know, what we're trying to do and what we would like to do more with you. I think last time we have a discussion about, you know, threat intelligence and how to basically, you know, leverage and monitor some of the new challenges that we have out there and how to use that intelligence. So we created a community page that is, aside from the brand, aside from any company, is all information available. As Scott, you mentioned, you know, can be on the Nozomi website, but also we have a GitHub page, so everyone can go there and comment and download it and you know, be part of the community. So that's what we're trying to do. So as we said last time, you know, everything that we are discovering in our day by day and working with you. I mean, many of you contacted us directly after our last live session about the stuff that you see or stuff that you discover. So we're just working together and bringing everything's available for everyone. So because I think, you know, we believe that is important, you know, at this stage to share all the contents. And the same things, how to use these contents is you can use that in any tool, right? You can, you know, find any tools that support a standard way to import threat intel. And what we're doing is there, you can download it and use with any tool. If you don't have a tool, another things that you can do is to go to our community webpage, community.nozominetworks.com, and you can download it, the community edition. And as Scott mentioned, you know, you can monitor some of the you know, key part related to the remote connection, but also you can use the threat intelligence that we just put there on the community page, and you can import it, and you can also leverage on that threat intel to discover potential new threat. So, you know, this is great. And question for both of you and for you, Scott. So we mentioned some of the stuff that we are, you know, today monitoring, and we should monitor. Anything else that you feel we should highlight related to the remote connection topic?
Yeah, I mean, around the remote connection is you have users accessing it from home, from other locations. The biggest thing is to make sure that you're keeping update with those patches, making sure that your VNC is up to date, the software that you're using for VPN is up to date, making sure that your Microsoft updates are up to date. So Microsoft just released 113 fixes for 113 vulnerabilities just recently. So making sure that you've got a process in place to get all of those users that are remotely up to date, that are on a faster connection that can get up to date. You want to make sure that all of your patches are up to date, all your browsers like Firefox just had a recent update. So making sure that those browsers are up to date. And even like the home users, making sure that your devices at home, your wireless access points are up to date. Even your IoT devices, like your Nest devices, your Ring cameras and so forth, making sure those are up to date, because those are areas that people can exploit and get into your wireless network in your home, that can potentially get into your computer. So making sure that everything is up to date across the board.
Yeah, this is great, right? When I start my career on cybersecurity, I mean, very young, and I start to be passionate about cybersecurity. I remember that, you know, I was pretty young and play with my friends, of course, you know, try to do experiments of hacking with my friends just for fun. And I mean, I always remember that the first point that I was starting, you know, especially it was many years ago, was in a different context, was basically checking the vulnerability well known. Because basically when you know that there is a vulnerability and it's published, from the hacker perspective, you say, okay, now I know exactly where is the problem and when I can attack. So it's like someone telling you, be careful, the door on the back of your house has a problem, so it doesn't stay closed. And if you don't fix it, everyone know it, because now it's public and everyone will know it. And so that's why I agree with you. Super important to do the update. Chris, before I pass it to you, I want to remind everyone, if you have any question for us or anything that was not clear, or you would like to go more in deep, please feel free to ask. This is a live session, but after the live session, you will get a link for the podcast. If you would like to share to any of your collaborator or any of your friends that maybe find that useful, please do it. I see also a question that is coming right now that say, how many of these COVID-19 IP addresses, or how many of these rules Nozomi check directly? So we mentioned that some of this threat intelligence is coming from you guys. So the question of some of you is, are we doing something, or we're just getting what you send to us guys and publish it? We do any clearance or any check on this info that we get from the field?
Yeah, I mean, there's at least on our security research team, there's a lot of phishing attacks going on. There's new ones every day. They're using different IP addresses, URLs. So we're continually checking and updating that. As far as how many we have, a couple of days ago, I looked and it was over 500 black IP addresses, maybe like 300 URLs that we're looking through, but that's continually changing. The phishing attempts since January has been up 667%. I think this will be a recent article that just came out. So there's a lot more IP addresses and URLs. So we're continually updating those with our threat intel, as well as we're updating that on our GitHub, so the community can get those as well. But as far as what it is today, it's well over 500 IP addresses. I'd have to go look and see what the exact number is, but we're continually updating that as the community finds some, as we find some, and our customers find some, so we're adding to our list.
No, that's great.
And they go down.
Yeah, Chris, on this topic, anything that you want to add, as a conclusion of what we just discussed today?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Scott did a great job of summarizing a lot of the critical things that operators and home users and everyone in between can do, things like hardening and stuff. Also, network segmentation is something that folks will want to consider, not just at home, but also in the plants. And our product can also help monitor to make sure that was all done properly. So if that's already in place, we can monitor to make sure that no mistakes are happening during the deployment of that remote access. And then also choosing the right remote access solution is another big step. Sometimes you might need it done at the perimeter, and they might need full layer 3 VPN access and allow like network to network type stuff, or they might just need to install a remote access product VM in the network so that they can get just maybe a protocol or two to a specific endpoint. So choosing the right product and being able to make sure that you monitor all of the stuff that's coming in, do your best to associate devices with people, understanding their roles, trying to bake that into the infrastructure is key, I think, to doing it safe and secure. So I think in summary, I think the best thing that folks can do is start with what they're doing right now, which is getting knowledge, watching webinars, reading white papers, learn up on the topic. You may have noticed our previous webinar, we had someone from our security labs that talked about the threat intelligence and how we get that stuff and how the feed is always being updated. And so if anyone missed that, I would recommend going back and taking a look at some of our other webcasts, as well as the page that Andrea mentioned that has all of the resources that we're providing to the community. So getting the knowledge to do it the right way, I think, is really important to staying secure.
Yeah, no, that's great, Chris. And before summarize and basically show, I see some question is, can you show or can you tell us more about the community page that you created, guys? Before pass it to you, Scott, on this one, I would like to summarize some of the stuff that we discussed today and what we add compared to the last time. So last time we discussed about threat intel. Threat intel now is available on the website, and Scott will show that in a second. Today we discussed about, I have many remote connection, and I cannot start like a 6 months project to add monitoring to that remote connection, or I don't have budget, but I still want to have my people in the SOC or 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 I want myself to monitor more stuff. So what we are sharing today is some of the rules and some of our intelligence related to what you should check. So as we mentioned, number of concurrency connection, type of protocol and connection. You will see a list on our webpage. And on Monday, Scott will do a deep dive on technical side if you wanna go and see technically what you can really do and what you should do in order to monitor that. But second, so first, the number of concurrency connections. Second, type of protocols and type of connection that you should allow from the remote connection, and what you should not allow, or you should monitor very carefully before allow someone to do that from your remote connection. I will make sure that from the IP that are landing in your plant from the remote connection, for example, you will not allow any SCADA protocols from that. Or if you decide that you have to, because you have to do some specific activity, make sure that you monitor very carefully what they're doing and you record what they're doing. And the other one is also making sure of what you can really reach from your remote connection inside your plant. You may don't have a specific segmentation, and which is fine. You cannot implement a segmentation tomorrow, but make sure that you have a tools that give you visibility. Can be Nozomi, the community edition, can be another tool, but make sure that you have visibility about who is talking to who inside your network, especially from the remote connection. If you have a persistent connection of someone changing something inside a PLC or doing important change in an engineering workstation, you need to have that visibility. Maybe is allowed, maybe is one of your people that are doing some activity, maybe not, but you need to know that, because if something happened, you need to be able to react quickly. So that is the main things that we are here to share today that we believe is important. Scott, why you don't quickly show the page that we put in place for the community from the GitHub perspective and the page that we just created for that.
Yeah. So if you go to nozominetworks.com, up at the top, we have a little COVID-19 cybersecurity. You can click on that link and say bring you to all of our information. So you can see the different threat intel, as well as our community edition. If you go down, you can register for upcoming webinars. If you want to know a little bit more on Monday, that we'll go through more in depth about the community edition, creating assertion rules and what you can do custom for your company. You can go ahead and register for that. As well as we have our GitHub links. So our links here that and then goes through some of our YAR rules and our indicators that you can download and use in your company. If you want to look for some of those threats, some of those IP addresses, you can use that. We're going to keep these up to date with the latest ones. If you have our threat intel with our standard product, you'll get updates every week with those. So we have multiple updates, around 2 to 3 updates with our threat intel that we're sending to our customers with all those IP addresses that we talked about earlier. As well as on that link, you can also download the community edition. You can register it to get a license for it and then go ahead and start using that. So you can use that at home, or if you want to use it in the workplace, you can certainly do that as well. And then we have those assertion rules that we'll go over more in depth on Monday.
That's fantastic, Scott. So for who want to really drill down and have the hands dirty and try to use some of these tools and some of this assertion, we're going to see you on Monday. I will remind everyone that this is a podcast that is going to be recorded. So if you want to listen also offline and you want to go back and rewatch it, you can do it. And another important thing is that we're going to meet again next Thursday. So next Thursday we're going to have a special guest, and we are going to tackle how the government and how this is impacting our day-by-day life with a special guest. But before say bye to everyone, Chris, Scott, any last things that you want to add?
Be safe.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. I agree. Be safe, guys. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you so much, Scott. Thanks to everyone. It was always a pleasure to have this live chat with you, and looking forward to collaborate. And please, as you did last time, let's keep working together. So that's the only way that we can increase and make this world a little bit safer from the cybersecurity perspective. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.